The language of modern collectivism has evolved, but its core objective remains unchanged. What was once called class struggle, national revolution, or proletarian solidarity now is repackaged as equity, climate action, public health, or democratic stability. Behind the euphemisms and moral posturing lies the same fundamental project, the subordination of the individual to the managerial state. The ideological infrastructure of 20th century collectivism did not collapse with the Berlin Wall. It metastasized into new bureaucratic and technocratic forms, armed now not with bayonets, but with slogans. Collectivist regimes have always relied on moral language to legitimize their authority, and the justification was revolutionary justice, national rebirth, or class liberation. In the 20th century, however, the justification is equity, sustainability, or our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
On that, we can agree.
These terms serve as a moral camouflage. Equity now justifies the reallocation of rights based on group identity. Climate action grants governments the authority to restructure economies by fiat. Democratic norms are invoked not to safeguard pluralism, but to silence opposition under the guise of protecting institutions. In every and whatever case, language is re engineered to advance centralized control while portraying dissent as a form of heresy. The modern state has inherited not just the tactics of collectivism, but its theological fervor as well. Where yesterday's collectivists employed gulags and secret police, today's use regulation, algorithmic censorship, and institutional capture. Canada criminalized misgendering and labels criticism of ideology as hate speech. The European Union is enacting sweeping digital regulations that enable deplatforming and surveillance under the pretext of combating misinformation. In the financial sector, ESG, or environmental, social, and governance scoring, pressures corporations to conform to ideological orthodoxies or face market exclusion. This is not market based decision making, it is political engineering by proxy. Domestically in the US, for decades, the federal government has increasingly circumvented constitutional limits through administrative fiat, outsourcing enforcement to tech monopolies or invoking emergencies to justify extraordinary powers. The mechanisms of coercion have been more subtle, but no less pervasive. Despite the shift in rhetoric and methods, the foundational assumptions remain constant. The collective is supreme, the individual is suspect, and dissent is pathology. Whether the collectivist project is framed in terms of class, race, environment, or public health, the result is the same: greater state control over life, speech, and commerce. The central planning boards have been replaced with unelected NGOs, supranational bodies, and bureaucratic agencies, but their role remains identical: to dictate from above what constitutes the good, the just, and the necessary, with little regard for consent or consequence. This is not a new ideology. It is the old one in a lab coat speaking the language of inclusion while enforcing conformity. This must be understood because the dangers of modern collectivism is its sophistication. It does not demand that you worship the state in the form of the glorious leader or the perpetual revolution. It demands that you comply with its values, repeat its mantras, and sacrifice your autonomy in the name of the greater good. It does not outlaw freedom outright. It instead redefines freedom as compliance. The lesson of the last century is not merely that collectivism leads to suffering, but that it is protean, capable of reinventing itself under new moral pretexts. The challenge of our time is not to resist a revolution, but to recognize one that has already arrived, disguised as consensus. Collectivism did not die, it rebranded. Its modern advocates do not wear uniforms, they wear credentials. They do not march in formation, they draft policy, program algorithms, and write curriculums. But their goal has always remained the same: to mold society according to a central vision, regardless of the individual's will. If liberty is to survive, it must recognize the new face of tyranny, not as a boot on the neck, but as a bureaucrat with a smile. The fight is not against an enemy of the past, but against a fluent, adaptive ideology that cloaks coercion in the language of care. To oppose it, one must first learn to recognize its vocabulary and then refuse its moral extortions. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you enjoy my content, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. And if you'd like to support future content, please visit my Patreon, link in the description below. And if you're interested in collaboration or joining me for conversation in future videos, please email me at drexhawkins@gmail.com. I've been Drex Hawkins. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good one, my friends.